Hello, my friends. Welcome to the podcast. You're listening to Life Over Coffee. I am Rick Thomas, and I'm so glad to be with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Some of you are listening to the podcast, and we're actually doing a video of this podcast today. I am interviewing Marty Burlsworth. Burlsworth is in Arkansas, and I watched the movie. The movie is called Greater, and it's about his little brother. Maybe little is not the right way to say it. He was a football player. But nevertheless, I watched the movie and I wanted to reach out to Marty. I'm not going to talk to you about the movie here. I'll let Marty set that up. But I was so intrigued and encouraged by the movie that I just wanted to talk to him and interview him about his brother and the situation that happened to Brandon, and then also the life after. God has just done an amazing work through his death. It's a phenomenal thing, and Marty can explain all of that, but I trust you'll be encouraged by this interview with Marty, and also I do highly recommend that you watch the movie Greater. I will put links to the Brandon Burlsworth Foundation as well as the movie, so that you can watch it and become more familiar with it if you are not. Marty, thank you so much for jumping on this interview with me.
Absolutely, Rick. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's my pleasure.
I have lots of questions for you. First of all, just give for our audience just a brief overview of why there is a Greater movie and what happened with your little brother.
Right. Well, just as quick as possible, give the synopsis. Brandon was my younger brother by 16 years. I know in the movie it says 17, but I guess in movies you gotta push it just a little bit further than maybe it actually was. But anyway, I was a lot older. So, but
well, you took care of one of my questions, because I was going to ask you that. Because I was doing all the research in the movie, and I was getting 16 and 17, and so I wasn't sure which one it was.
Mm-hmm. And that's and I remember when first screening the movie, I'm thinking, and I'm sure I probably saw that in the script, but I'm thinking, I guess 16 wasn't quite enough, so whatever, doesn't matter. But there was a lot of age difference, just put it that way, and. He's just when we speak, my wife and I, when we speak it, especially to young kids at elementary schools and wherever that is, whether it's where we're at in Arkansas or wherever around the country, we emphasize that Brandon was just like any other little kid growing up. You didn't see what became an All-American. It certainly didn't see that at 8 or 9 years old, awkward and just not the you didn't or myself, I didn't really know exactly what is going to happen with this guy. That's why in the movie, for those that have seen it, and if you haven't, like Rick said, we encourage you to see it. It's on Netflix now, and I can tell you, we get tons of emails daily from all over the country, people that have seen this movie, because it's really, we think it's done that well. It's a great story. But in the movie, it basically starts out with my character coming in, and the lawn's not mowed, and I come in griping, and that was real. I mean,
is that true? So did you really call him?
They may have even underplayed that one a little bit. That may be one case where they didn't overplay it. But
did you call him?
Because, at that time, we always, my wife and I joke. We talk about how great parents we were when Brandon was about that age. Now, we didn't have any kids of our own, but we could tell you how to raise yours. And, we all know people like that they're experts. And we thought my mother was really, saying, oh, we got to put the hammer down on this guy. I've got to get a little motivation in him. Little did I know at that time that all that would take place.
Did your mother baby him?
Oh, yeah. Because he was the baby. He was the baby. I mean, there's no denying that. She won't deny that. She's 81 years old now, not in great health, but she will own up to that.
And you called him cheesecake.
I called him a lot of things, actually, but yes.
Well, so
absolutely.
I mean, you were 17 when he was born.
I was actually 15, almost just coming up on a birthday. So There's 16 years difference.
Okay. Yeah, and so I mean that's different in itself
Yeah, that
because
was really strange for a 16-year-old, awkward 16-year-old trying to be cool, and you've got a baby in the house, and like which I thought was great, but wow, okay, but yeah, he was babied so much, and I'll say this: we've got three boys of our own. Our youngest was married in just this last May, and I can tell you this: he was the youngest, and there wasn't that big age gap. But we knew that was the last one, and yeah, we still call him the baby, and he got babied, and he's a mama's boy. So
yeah.
we, kind of came full circle. So we understood.
So Brandon, well, I mean, you were a huge motivation, positive or negative, but
At times it was both. Yes, exactly.
to get him off the couch. So why did he go out for the football team, the high school football team?
And something that a lot of people don't know, and it really has no bearing on the story, is he attended where our mother's house was right on the borderline of going to one school or another school, Harrison, which is our hometown, or Valley Springs, a smaller school, a basketball school, did not have football. So in his 7th grade year, which is the first year at that time you could play football, he transferred to Harrison to play football. He was always football size. He was always generally bigger, other than just one small period of time. His 9th or 10th grade year seemed like he was more undersized than most, and then he had a big growth spurt. But he played. He was just like me. He wanted to play basically everything. And he was a whole lot like me in those early years because, he wasn't great. I worked at it and just didn't, I was okay, but not what I wanted to be as far as, because I just did not have that ability. And I was really concerned as time went on that he would be just exactly the same. But he would come out and work out with I coached junior high baseball at the time, and I when he was 10, and our youngest was born when Brandon was 10. And so, but I'd have him come out with us just to shag fly balls. And this age group was like 13 to 15, but I'd have him come out. The reason he wanted to come out, but I wanted him out there because we would run sprints at the end of practice, and I wanted him doing that. And he never shied away from it. He ran them just like everybody else, but there was a double thing going on there. I was trying to get him in better shape. I don't know that you would ever called him lazy, but it had that look at an early age, 8 and 10.
And so was it his affection for the Arkansas Razorbacks that was that the thing that was pulling him through the whole time, that he wanted to play for the Razorbacks?
Yeah, and if you're not from our state or this area, you wouldn't understand. I mean, I say that with all sincerity. In our state, we have no professional teams. We've had, minor league. No, we have minor league baseball. I guess you could count that. But there's no professional football. There's no professional basketball. One thing, we are a smaller state, and it would be extremely difficult to compete with the University of Arkansas, because in this state, from corner to corner, it's all Razorback. I mean, we have other schools. We actually even have another Division I school, Arkansas State, a really good school in Jonesboro. But the reach of the Razorbacks is statewide. And to say, in our state, to say, I want to play for the Razorbacks, well, that would be like saying, I want to play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same here, but similar. We're an hour from Clemson University, and of course, there's more options around here than what you're describing. But nevertheless, I mean, everything is orange, and on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday. I've been down there. I love it. I love Clemson. Yeah.
Yes, Saturday, the Tiger Tails are hanging out the trunks as they're going down to the interstate, heading toward
Hmm.
Clemson, and so it is a big deal. But I can understand how it would be so intensified in Arkansas, being that there aren't really sports teams there. And so he went to high school. Seemed to sit on the bench. Now I can only let me go at it this way. I've seen the movie, so that's all that I know. And so, what are there differences between what actually happened versus what they presented in the movie?
There may be some minor differences. If anyone wants to know, is the movie true? Absolutely. Does it capture what
Okay.
happened? Absolutely. Did they change a few things up? Yeah. But
Yeah.
a lot of it would be like maybe something that I was talking to someone on the phone was in person in the movie. There are several instances of characters being combined, and I have learned over the years after all these different scripts written. I mean, the movie it didn't just come together real quick. Years of process because one thing was an independent film,
Right.
and but we saw lots of scripts. Some that were good, some that were bad, some that were real bad, and then we got what they worked into what ultimately became the working script, which I think was incredible. But the scene where young Brandon's playing like little league or seventh grade football,
Right.
I was actually on the set that day. Just happened to be on the set that day, and they worked and worked and worked. Almost ran out of light because they had a high school scene to film later that day, but. They worked on that shot of him wrapping up around a kid's ankle and
Yeah.
it's in the movie trailer and
Right.
the quarterback completes the pass. They worked on that so hard because that happened. That was not Hollywood. I think it's actually there was a book that came out years ago, I think 2001 even, Brandon's biography, and the movie's based off of that. And I think it's even in the book, but my dad and I were sitting in the stands when he got to the quarterback, and we thought he was going to make the big play, and it wrapped up around his ankle, and the kid's just
He
standing
well,
there. Yeah.
his personality came through because he was tenacious. He would not let go. He was determined. It just didn't turn out the way that everybody on his team anticipated.
Right.
Just for our audience sake, so Brandon went on. He played college ball. He did make it to the Razorbacks, and that's really just the briefest way of saying it because it was way more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
He was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts, and then 11 days after, he was in an automobile accident, and of course he lost his life, and so forth. And so that's what happened. And of course, some of the accolades. I mean, he's considered the how would you say it, the number one walk
Yep.
on
Mm-hmm.
in college
College
or
football.
the BCS era. Uh, he was mocked endlessly from the time he started playing ball all the way through or up into Arkansas, and then of course his determination to turn himself into something. He was never promised a scholarship. He got a scholarship, became a starter, etc. All American, and made it to the NFL. I mean, he made it
Mm-hmm.
to the NFL, and then tragically died coming home one day to visit his mother in Harrison. And so but that's not the end of the story. But that's why we're having this interview. That's why the movie happened. But God did so many amazing things, obviously, after that. I cried twice, at least twice, during the movie, maybe three times. I'll own two of them. And I was so affected by it that I called a family meeting and said that hey, we're watching a movie, and I didn't tell them, I didn't give any setup whatsoever. I said, hey, we're just watching a movie. It's clean. And by the way, it is a clean movie for those who are interested in that. There's a couple of things that maybe
Yeah, you have to get your rating. You have to get your rating where they think it ought to be. So you throw a couple of words in just to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Rick. It's for everyone. That's right. And another thing that you've said, in case anyone's watching that hasn't seen the movie, there's no spoiler alert here. It opens up people that haven't seen it. What you've said, what I've said, you're going to know that about Brandon's accident immediately, and I think it's done so creatively and handled so well that you know that to begin with, and that's what I think what really helps the flow and helps the setting, because I know that was a big challenge for the producer and the director and the screenwriter working on it, was how to do this in a way that wouldn't just, be terrible at the end. So you kind of open up knowing that it's still emotional. We know that. And that's okay.
I found that part disappointing initially because they gave me the spoiler alert in the first 5 minutes. And it's like, oh, man, I know how this is going to end. But you're exactly right. I haven't thought about it. I mean, I just remember that feeling when I first saw it. It's like, seriously? I mean, I already know the end. But when you just said that, you're exactly right. Because
then you go back, and then it's just back and forth and present time.
You get caught up in it. I mean, you forget everything, and you just get caught up in the story because it's so well written. And you're pulling for him at every point of the way, whether he's on the couch eating potato chips or sitting on the bench at that Little League football game, whatever they call it. And then all the way through, you continue to pull for him, even though you do know the ending. So that it was written very well. I did want to ask you, so the farmer on the bench at the funeral, is that a true story of the guy who, in the movie, he's just antagonizing you?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I'm going to give you a little bit of a long answer here because I've answered that a lot. That's what we always call the question. And if
I wanted to hit him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, here's my long answer, and I'll try to make it as brief as possible. Throughout this 11-year process it took to get this film made, and a lot of it was starts and stops. And like I said, different scripts, some good, some not good at all. Hire in some big time people out of Hollywood that had a lot of movie scripts, a lot of production experience. The producer had told me, since it's an independent film, the producer of this movie. Now, we were approached by Hollywood years ago, probably a year after Brandon's accident, I guess less than that, about doing a movie. And the question I had for people that were contacting us is, what input would the family have on what ultimately, how the story's told? And they were honest and said, none. Because once we, retain the rights, we've got to make what we think is going to be a good movie. And we just weren't comfortable with that at all. There's no telling. It may have been fine. It may have been really not good. It may have made Brandon out something that he wasn't. So we had a guy from Fayetteville, Arkansas, actually originally from Alabama, that is a U of A graduate, just a businessman, set up a meeting with us in our hometown here.
You don't hold that against him, do you?
What, from being from Alabama?
Yeah.
A little bit, yes. Yeah. Still harbor hard feelings there. But no, he's a hog all the way. He's a hog. So all the way. So he's been out of that state for a while. Yeah, we all kind of harbor here in the SEC West. Yeah, let's say there's a lot of jealousy against Alabama. Anyway, he came over and met with us and said, a movie needs to be made about Brandon. He deserves it. He's earned it. That story needs to be told. I've never made a movie. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll hire the right people. I'll learn. And his wife that was with him at the time made the statement, said, whatever he says he's going to do, he does. She sold me. So I know that type of person. That's the type of people I like to work with, that stick to it and finish, and finish strong. So he bought the rights, all the, any proceeds we had, went to my mother, of course, and began work on it. And then was getting investors involved and having play written and different scripts, and then hiring professional people. At that time, he made the statement, now, the industry says I need to hire a named director in order to get legitimate, real actors to be in the movie where they'll be attracted to it by a named director. So he calls one day and he gives me the name of the director. I didn't recognize him. Not that I wouldn't recognize the name of the director unless it's Spielberg, I guess. Maybe I recognize that. That's about it. But so he says, it's David Hunt, and I asked where he's from, and he's from Springdale, Arkansas. My next question was, okay, what all has he done? And he said, well, he's not done a lot, but this is going to be his big breakout. So naturally, I'm not too optimistic or fired up about the director hire. David Hunt sends me a 4 or 5 page synopsis of his vision, which was very impressive. But then David Hunt, the director, began working on the script. David Hunt came, and then they called one day, and the producer did, this is Brian Rindle, and said, already I'm thinking we're going down the wrong path here. You know, with me with no movie experience, but it just seems like it wasn't going in the right direction. He calls and says, we've got a new character. And I'm thinking, well, characters, that's made up stuff. You know, okay, well, who is it? And he said, he's called the Farmer. And all I can think is, I thought this was kind of a football-based movie, and we've got a farmer and I didn't understand that. Then they sent the script, and then you saw, oh, I get it now. And the Farmer came about. David Hunt came up with the Farmer, the guy that I didn't think was worthy, I guess you could say, to work on this film or could get it done. And he came up with that Farmer. Well, when they sent that script around, then you started getting actors in. But the Farmer and David Hunt, I've asked him about. Now, here's the interesting part about this. The Farmer, we get questions, like we say, the question, who's the Farmer? So as soon as we started touring around a little bit, I contacted David Hunt, and I said, "Who's David?" They're asking me who the Farmer is. You know, because in reality, the Farmer, there was no farmer per se. Okay, there were people like that. Okay, right. This movie, there were plenty of people like that. David, who's the Farmer? And typical artist answer was, "Who do you think he is?" You know, I said, no, they want to know who he is. And then he made an interesting statement that went way over my head. He said, well, is he really there? And yeah, David, in the movie, I mean, my character's talking to him. He said, well, who else is talking to him? And there's some football players that seem to make reference to him. But when you watch it again, you will see that really, maybe my character and some high school football players by the name of Gabe and Michael, maybe Gabriel and Michael, seem to reference him. And so the Farmer, in one scene that's really powerful in the movie, Michael is trying to get my character to come up and leave, and the Farmer's on the other side trying to keep me down. So he said the director said the Farmer is based off of basically what was going on, you know, in my head, and just that whole situation. So I don't think we'd have the same movie without the Farmer.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me of C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters, where you got good and evil, sitting on your shoulders, basically. And that's what he was doing. But it also ties into the opening scene, you know, when they're looking at the Brandon's gravestone, where they ask the question, you know, how does this make any sense? And that theme runs all the way through the movie. How does this make any sense? Of course, you're the central your character is the central character in asking that question. Of course, the farmer is antagonizing you, trying to pull you over to the dark side, basically, that there is no God and there's no sense of this. And then your mother comes along at the top of the bleachers, or maybe that's where she said it, and I won't be able to quote that exact. If this life is the only life that we have, yeah, then you know that. And I'm paraphrasing here, but then that makes sense. But if there's more to it, then there is sense to be made of it. So I have a lot of questions about that. First of all, was that the warfare in your head? I mean, were you really struggling with God at that moment?
I didn't. I wanted to be angry, and I think I was some. Was my faith tested? I just can't admit to that, I guess, or say yes, because I don't want to think that for a minute. But it was extremely tough, and also for any of your viewers that are understand that. When you see the movie, everything's condensed down to 2 hours. Okay. Right. So my character comes out well on the other side, but I wouldn't want anyone thinking, well, it just took 2 hours and he got it and it was all good. It doesn't happen that way, and it happens at different times for different people. And we've talked with a lot of people that have been in similar situations. And, everyone, when you lose someone, you're on your own time frame, and no one can tell you when it's time to get over. It's the wrong word, because you need to, but I don't know that you ever do. But you right. Deal with it. You deal with
and and that's a fair point to make, because after you had the little chat with your mother, you went running into the gymnasium and.
Right.
And everything was fine, and it ended as well as it possibly could. But you're right. Grief is not that cooperative, and you would not know this about me, but I've had two brothers who were murdered 10 years apart, and so I know what that's like in that sense. To lose a brother, that it just you can't speed it up. You just got to work through it, and it's not the same for everybody. And as I've even seen that within our own family, some people can work through it more quickly than others. They just really carry it in a harder way for many, many years.
Right. Exactly. And and we had a lot of tragedy. You don't put stuff like that. You can't put everything in a movie, but within the 2 years, we had 4 family deaths. My dad, of course, that's in the movie. My wife's mother was murdered by her husband of 10 years. Wow. That one was blindsided by that one. Terrible. Murder-suicide.
Your wife's what? Your wife's what?
My wife's mother was murdered by her husband. It's not my wife's father, but they'd been married about 10. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was my wife's mother and they were very close, and I was very close and with them. And tell you talk about a boy having to grow up. Brandon was in one weekend, and he and I said, well, I need you to go out with me, and we got to clean that house up. So it was a bad scene, and we're just dragging stuff out and putting in a burn pile, just without getting into detail. It wasn't good. Right. And but he went right out there with me, and in times like that, and any times like this, you just got to take care of business. The way I always put it, with my dad when he died, just take care of business. And then our grandmother, who was 83 years old, and was ready, and was really ready, and I wasn't ready for it, but she was ready, and everyone was okay with it, and she passed. And I remember at her funeral, standing there with Brandon as the funeral's ending, and we're about to leave the cemetery, and he's like, "That's enough funerals," because we had 3 just within months of one after the other, it seemed like. And that look back on that and say, what a statement for him to make. That's
So
enough vehicles.
in the movie, he didn't curse, smoke, chew, or hang out with those who do. Is that a true story?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He would. He had friends like Grant Garrett, who's depicted in the movie, and the guy that plays Grant Garrett in the movie name is Grant Cook, and he was actually years later a Razorback football player.
Oh, really?
I thought he was a great actor. Now he's kind of a character naturally.
Well, was he the star that Brandon put on his backside in the tackling?
Now you're talking about being in that drill in the cage.
Yeah, in the cage.
Now he was his roommate.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's Grant Garrett, and but they were really close.
And was Brandon that there was this moment about he always walked the same way on the sidewalk, didn't walk on the grass, and was he that particular, or I want to say anal, but that's not the right word to use.
No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'm not. He came by that pretty honestly because I'm the exact. My wife just shakes her head. So, I mean, I said, no, you hang the towel on the shower door with the, said, why do you, she'll just do things the opposite just to irritate me. So, that's what Brandon's.
Yeah, I totally get it. I had a friend come over here years ago, and it wasn't this lamp, but just say a lamp. And when he walked in the door, he took the lampshade and he made it cockeyed like that. And then he stood off where the lamp was behind him, and I'm in front of him talking to him. And as I look over his shoulder, I see the lamp is cockeyed, and I say, excuse me, wait just a minute. And then I go and fix the lamp, and he got me. I mean, he just totally got me in that moment. But
sure.
I could resonate with Brandon and my daughter is the same way. And I've apologized to her many times, and it's like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you got this. But actually, I mean, it's also a gift as well. I mean, there's usually a liability to all of our gifts, but I know they mocked him, in the movie for being so.
Right. No, he did things a certain way, and I think that he was more so probably stronger on that than I was. But I mean, I've got it. My wife would say, no, y'all are exactly the same way on that. But I was doing before he was even born. I look back and think of things that, just minor little things as a kid that I did that were similar to that. But yeah, that's absolutely the truth. One thing I want to mention though, in case I forget, there was a story, and I'd heard about this years later, that one of the Razorback players came into the dorm, and Brandon's sitting there working at the desk, and he's got all his books arranged above his head the way they're, he knows where they're at. He knows in order.
Well, I call that efficiency.
That's exactly right. Rick. I do too. Exactly right. And he's writing, and the player is talking to him over. He said, Burls said, man, you, how are you doing what you're doing? I mean, you're up, you start off as a walk-on, and now you're playing and you're working your way up, and, you made all conference, and the word was that Brandon never looked up from what he was doing, reached up above his head, picked up a book, showed it to him, put the book back, it's the Bible, and went back to writing.
Wow.
How do you do it? Showed him the Bible, put it back.
Wow.
So pretty powerful story.
Yeah, and this is the not just a Hollywood scripted underdog story. This is a legit underdog story. Here's a country boy that nobody's ever going to hear of. He's going to work down at the factory all of his life, but he has an ambition of playing for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and it's just not going to happen. No way, no how. He does make it, and it's just a phenomenal story. Now, I am, friends with Danny and Deborah Ford, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've been in their home a few times, and the connection there. is that Danny, after he left Clemson, they won the championship in 1981. They had an undefeated season, and then he went to Arkansas, and so he coached Brandon Burlsworth for a year or two, and then he left, and then I guess it was Nutt. What is that right? What's his name?
Yeah, Houston Nutt.
Houston Nutt came in and finished the deal. But Brandon went from a walk-on to you have no future here to getting a scholarship to moving as a starter. And he was he offensive guard or tackle?
Offensive guard. 3-year starter.
3-year starter. And by the way, for you all, there are videos on YouTube, games and interviews and so forth. And so there's a lot of information out there. Marty, are you okay being Brandon's older brother? It's kind of like I am. I no longer have an identity. I am, Tristan's dad. Or, our daughter's, dad. I don't have an. I used to have an identity, but yours would be even more off the chart because of what happened. Are you okay being Brandon's brother?
Oh yeah. You bet. I'm proud to be. Absolutely.
Okay, then walk me through the, or what I mean, the wreck. My understanding is that he, I assume he went to sleep, though I don't think I've read that anywhere. But and clipped a 18-wheeler and then and then hit another one or something like that.
I think Rick, you probably got what you said is about as much information as we have, and I had the state police look into it and. Probably, while there was still time to check to see if there was any negligence, anything like that. I talked to the truck driver that night. He called the house. The house was full of people and reporters and TV crews. And this is the night of Brandon's accident. And I went into a back room and talked to him. And of course, he's seen it on ESPN. And to say the least, he was not in a good way. And I was very sympathetic with him, and I wanted to know what happened. And what you said basically is what happened. He clipped. Why did he clip? We don't know. I remember that he was late getting in that day. And I can tell you that I had no concern. Because, so what, he just didn't make mistakes. I mean, that's not to make him sound perfect, but as far as, things like that, I'm not worried about that. I mean, he wasn't perfect at all, but he didn't, the common things like that, I'm not worried about that one little bit. He had called me earlier that day, seeing if I could get a part for his car. And I told him, I said, yeah, I know where to do that. And then he had lunch with a good friend. It's actually Coach Bender's son, who's depicted in the film that's on crutches. Had lunch with him and then was headed back home. But we really, it doesn't matter, but you want to know. Right. And I had it investigated. Someone volunteered that it was in that business. I mean, we weren't trying to do anything, but I thought if there's something wrongful that we need to know about, I don't want Brandon, I guess, seem at fault if he wasn't at fault at all. We just there's nothing. All we can say is the report was he crossed the center line. Why did he? Don't know. Could have fallen asleep, and that's the way it was depicted in the film, that possibly he fell asleep. I did ask that they did not. They did exactly what I asked them to do, and that wasn't always the case. But I said, I'd like you to go to whiteout. No, nothing on, no graphic. So if anyone's afraid of seeing anything like that, you're not going to. There's nothing with the wreck, but they just went to a whiteout, and because we don't know.
How hard was it for you and your mama to watch the screening?
It's pretty tough. Actually, the first, and that's a really good question, Rick. I'm glad you asked that. The producer, I kept wanting to get sneak peek, and he finally started telling me, he said, it's sort of like I'm getting you a new car, but it's got mud all over it. He said, I don't want to show you the new car with mud all over it. I want to shine it up. It's not ready yet. And because they were having screenings around the state. They were doing the thing where you go in and screen and they fill out a card and, this is what I think of it. And with the unfinished film, like you can see green screen and
right.
Things weren't put in and different things like that. I didn't get to see any of that. I was wanting to, get to see. Now, they did send me a couple of clips later on, segments. But he said, producer said, I think it'd be best to see it at the premiere. And I said, no. I said, we got to see it first. I said, our family needs to see that because, we don't want to get all messed up. I certainly don't want that for Mom at the premiere. So we've got like a theater room here at our home, and he brought it over, and he and his wife, the one that was with him to begin with 11 years earlier, to pitch the idea. And after it was over, my mother made statements that captures Brandon. That captures him. So
yeah, I would be a mess at a preview, and then have to step out, and I'm sure there'd be microphones in my face, and that would.
We had two. Well, we had three premieres actually. We had one in Little Rock, Arkansas. We had, and this is with the actors in and the red carpet and all of that. We had one in Fayetteville, where the University of Arkansas is located. And we had one in Canton, Ohio, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Pro Football Hall of Fame contacted us about premiering the movie up there. And that was really neat. They had seen, the trailer. They knew that it, as they said, Brandon embodied what that place stands for, integrity and work ethic and all of that. And they wanted the film up there. So we premiered it up there. But yeah, we did certainly want to see it.
What was your career? You were in your late 30s. You had a career path, and I'm assuming what you're doing now is not what you were doing then.
No, it is. It is not. Actually, that's that. You see me on the sideline with a camera. That's what I did.
Yeah. No lens on it.
no lens. That's right. But I was a photographer. And that's how and I wasn't a sports photographer. I mean, I could do that, but I was a studio. We had a studio. We photographed seniors, high school seniors, families, babies, and that kind of thing. And did that for 26 years. So I did that right out of school, and we had done that for years. And then our local paper said, "Well, you going to be going to all the games?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You want to shoot them?" "Yes." So that's how I ended up being on the sideline, photographing all the games. And speaking of the segment there with the camera with no lens on it, did you see my little cameo? Did you notice the guy that said...
No. I was going to ask you, are you in this movie?
I'm the photographer that says, you better put the lens on the camera.
That was you?
That was me talking to my actor. They wrote that in to have.
You had a big. That character had a big lens camera. Is that you?
Mm-hmm. That was me.
I'll have to go back. Yeah, because that was a funny part.
Yep. That was me, and I had been on the set enough a few days, not for that part, but for other things. I said, okay, when are we going to shoot my part? Because I knew it never worked on schedule. They tell you the time. And they meant it, but then setting up. So I don't remember how delayed it was. And then by the time we started shooting, and I'm not one to get nervous. I kind of got myself nervous. And man, we're sitting there. My wife's got pictures and video of standing around, waiting to for start filming. And I think we did a take. They reset the cameras, and Neil McDonough is standing there, who plays me. And I said. Or maybe it's before we started filming. I said, okay. And I was made myself nervous. I said, got any pointers? Because we're just going to do it. Just going to. And then he made the statement, well, he said, as Clint Eastwood once told me, talk slow And I think, wow, that didn't calm me down one bit. So as Clint Eastwood told me, I was looking to get a little, consoling here and just relax. As Clint Eastwood once told me, now I'm intimidated. So,
sure, got it. No problem.
Right, exactly.
Hey, yeah. So you, well, I mean, videography and photography. I mean, it can kind of fold into parts of what you're doing now. I mean, you do have.
Yeah, we still use a lot of what we did back then. I've got a real estate company now. I wish I could do it more. Well, no, I don't, because people say, "Well, do you want to?" We've got property or some rental stuff, but we're a traditional small town real estate company where we sell land, houses, things like that. As the foundation has grown and grown and grown, it's I don't want to say pulled me away, because no, this comes first. There's I wouldn't comes before anything else we do.
And that answers the question, and I'd like for you to talk about this. But the question is, this doesn't make any, or how does this make any sense? Mm-hmm. There's this hostile antagonism running throughout the movie. The farmer is the most amplified version of the evil perspective. But now it's been all. What year did he die?
1999.
So it's been 22 years. Since his death. How does it make any sense? I mean, you can answer that question. So what are some of the things that have been instituted with, Burl's kids, the mm-hmm. glasses that are on your shirt? I don't wear prescription glasses. I use readers, and these glasses here are to block out the blue light.
Got some of those, yep. Me too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so does Brandon have blue light blockers, or does he have readers, or are they all prescription glasses? Because I like his glasses.
Yeah, he back in that I wore glasses back then. But one reason I wore glasses, like we talked about, I was in the photography business. This is pre digital,
right?
If anyone can imagine that, there was photography before digital. Shooting film.
You count how many shots I have. I just can't go click.
No, you didn't rapid fire them off anymore. Someone, and this is shooting seniors and family, high school seniors. And boy, if you got a blinker in your camera, and oh boy, But I mean, we had a really nice setup that we developed over the years, but we'd shoot medium format, which is big negatives. Because you got to make big prints. We didn't shoot 35 millimeter.
Okay.
But we would, but we used a lot of that back then, and but we'd shoot and a lot of the film the thing is, I've got archives of negatives that we are still scanning, that are stuff from studio. Things from Brandon's games, a lot of from Brandon's games, and then also I've got a lot of video that we've done. But I've been I mean, truthfully, you always feel like, well, you want him back. You want him back. That's not really. Would he want to come back? No. I would be in trouble if I had that ability. He would not be happy with me. And but what I've had people said, well, he did, and I never looked at it that way, but he did what he was supposed to do while I was here. Now you're doing what you're supposed to do, and which is,
he gave you the ball.
He gave me the ball. He handed me the ball, and we've just been trying to run with it as hard as we can. We've got programs now through the Marty Burlsworth Foundation that some were Brandon's ideas. Like he and I talk about football camps. So we need to do that. We'd seen some other NFL players do that because we knew he was going to the next level. We need to sponsor kids, bring kids to games, buy tickets to kids to go to games. This turned into the Burls Kids program. Now, we still have children attend through the foundation Indianapolis Colts games. But the bigger impact was we took that to the college level, and I talked to Coach Frank Broyles back then. He was at the opening game of the 1999 NFL season where they had a halftime presentation for Brandon. And we had a stadium expansion going on in Fayetteville at that time. We talked about getting seats for these underprivileged kids. So we host 25 kids at every home Razorback game. And we do like 10 kids in Indianapolis every home game. And we've done that ever since the year 2000. And these are kids that, one thing, at the college level, they've never been to a game, but we give them a lot more than that. They're on a college campus, probably for the first time ever.
Right.
And they're touring around, they're seeing what a college, that maybe, this could be their future too. And right. I know most have never considered that. And then we have
that has to be a total mind blow.
Oh yeah,
for these kids to be able to do that. I've got.
Probably never been out of their own hometown, and then to
right.
get to a college campus.
Yeah, and I was thinking the same for you, that you've had two experiences that a lot of people would like to have. One would be on the sidelines of a football game or in the locker room, etc. But the other is the production, of a full-blown, Hollywood film. You've got to experience both of those things. I've had the experience with football because of our relationship with, Danny and Deborah,
mm-hmm.
with the Clemson Tigers. And but those are awesome experiences. I was thinking about these little kids. I mean, in some ways it could be, life-changing for some of them, to have that experience. But so I didn't explain the glasses on your shirt, but walk through. Brandon had the eye problem, and how did that evolve to? Well, I mean, Of course, he had these funky glasses as well. So so that became a Clark Kent kind of thing. So I guess it became a picture for who Brandon is. But what do you do with the glasses now?
Right. We've got a program that's called Eyes of a Champion, and we've had it for years in the state of Arkansas. We're now in Texas and also Indiana. We'd love to be in South Carolina. So, we're looking to expand this program.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Now, is this through colleges or is it?
No, it's through optometrists. We work in the state of Arkansas. We work through Walmart Vision Centers, and we get more actually independent optometrists than we do in our state of Arkansas. About 1,000 exams and 1,000 a pair of glasses each year. These are for kids that don't qualify for state programs. Probably the parents or parent maybe working two jobs, just can't make ends meet. And I mean, that eye care is crucial.
Right.
You talk about a game changer there, life changer, game changer. I mean, a child gets behind, especially at a young age, gets behind in school, and they don't think, I can't see well, that's why I'm making bad grades. They think, maybe think I'm a dummy. I'm not as smart as my classmates here. No, that's not it at all. And when you can flip that switch and put some glasses on them, and now they can, excel. And that has been a life changer for so many kids over the years. So we want to have that program out nationwide. It's through independent. So what we need are independent optometrists. If they just want to contact us and let us walk them through the program, because it's not just about getting glasses. That's a huge part of it. But every child that gets those gets the exams and glasses, they get a copy of Brandon's book, so they can read about this guy, where those came from, the obstacles he had to overcome, and then maybe I might just be able to do that myself. Was
this a family illness, his eye trouble, or just something that just out of the blue?
He was in the car with me one day here in town, and he said, and we were talking about another player that wore glasses a couple of years before on the team with him, and he said, let me try your zone. And I mean, this is something up in college. He goes, goodness. I said, do you see better? And he said, yeah. He said, I can see the leaves on the trees a lot clearer. And I said, well, go see. We all know our trainer that had been around forever at Arkansas, just an institution, said, well, go see Dean and see what he says. And sure enough, checked him out. And had to have glasses because he was like me. It was more of a nearsighted thing. So, but he could. But I had them simply because there was no autofocus cameras in. When autofocus came in, I didn't need it anymore. But when we manual focus those medium format cameras, I had to have them. But he could see a lot clearer, so it was very similar to mine.
Was the story on the field true? In the movie, he was missing blocks and so forth.
Well, that's probably a little bit of movie magic, if you want to call it that. There, he didn't miss many blocks, but they had to find a way to tell that.
Okay,
because he actually got the glasses, and I'm not trying to ruin this for anybody or think that.
No, it's good.
This, but that's more of an off season. He didn't get them during the middle of the season, and then of course he picks out the most simple, basic. I said, Eric Dickerson was big time. I said, well, they've got those goggle. I don't like that. And I said, well, you think about contacts? He said, I don't know anything about contacts. I don't like the idea of putting, something in my eye. So typical Brandon, just Mr. Throwback, funny. Just he came up with that, which actually became his, I guess you could say his symbol.
They can't be. They were perfect. They're absolutely perfect.
Right. They were just spot on for him. Yeah, just what you expect.
Yeah, the glasses are like a metaphor for who he is. One final question: that the trip play with Tennessee and Arkansas, are we okay?
I don't like it too much, no, but oh. I wish that was movie magic there, but that.
Well, you said movie magic, so I was going to ask you, did they make that up? But I know it's so Tennessee and Arkansas both undefeated. The winners going to the championship game, I guess, and the quarterback was. I mean, all they had to do was kill time, and they were going to win the game. And the quarterback fumbled, and was it Brandon's ankle?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. They changed that play earlier. See, I've got some knowledge of that. They changed that play earlier in the week. The rollout was different. They had ran it, that same play earlier in the game, correctly. All right, and I'm not going to say who's at fault.
Well, Brandon owned it in the movie.
Yeah, well, naturally he would, and I mean, and
we're going to have a hot. You going to give me a hot take here as we wrap up?
No. But I'll just say that that was incredibly. They nailed it the way they depicted it. It was a devastating loss because we were on such a roll. And about a week before, I think it was maybe we were playing Auburn. We took a knee. As time expired, but time didn't expire. So I knew what we were doing. We were just going to keep the ball safely and roll it out. And that's the reason we even ran a play. So why not just take a knee? Well, we tried that a week before, but that other team had some timeouts, and they'd still get the ball back. And so I knew what Coach Nutt was doing. It was a safe play.
Right.
It was a safe call. And but now they said that I know the other player for Tennessee. He said, "There's only one time during that game I got a push on Burlsworth, but it's that play." And I know better. That was designed to do that. It wasn't designed to trip, but that was just a rollout to let him go that way. He didn't, Brandon he was so good at what he did, and that he could fake, I got beat. I've seen him get a half step back, but he's doing it because of running a draw right up behind it, just to sell the defender on it. So it was one of those things, but that was a tough loss. And they still, on the SEC network, will replay that game to this day. Because it's historic, no doubt about that. But there's
no question.
Yeah.
Absolutely no question. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, Brandon's story, finishes with a climatic disappointment. Obviously, I mean, there's nothing greater, to use the name of the movie, that's more devastating than actually what happened to him. that football season is kind of similar. I mean, it was
Mhm.
just it was going up, 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 and it was just it was a dream season. And there was only one way this was going to end, and it didn't end that way. And how does any of this make sense? Which goes back to
Mhm.
the question of the entire movie. All right, so anything like you want to plug you got coming up, with the foundation? I'm going to put links in the show notes for the movie, the foundation, and so forth, so people can easily access those. But what do you
We've
got
got
coming up?
we got our Burlsworth Trophy ceremony, and that'll be here in Arkansas. If you've ever heard of Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, Arkansas, world renowned.
How far are you from Bentonville, the home of
We're about
Walmart?
70 miles
70.
here.
Okay.
Not far at all, but this is the museum that Alice Walton put in several years ago, and it's just, I mean, we've been in New York City and would say something, we were somewhere and they'd say Crystal Bridges, so, I mean, it's known. And so this is the first year that we'll be out there. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be this is for the number one division walk-on player that began their career as a walk-on. Number one division one player began their career as a walk-on. And we've got 89 nominees from around the country, which is a record. And so we've got a selection committee, which includes Coach Danny Ford. He's on that selection committee, has been since the very beginning. But this is a trophy that we're proud of. And of course, if Brandon had been given a scholarship to begin with, we wouldn't have this award. So
yeah, and we didn't work through all the list of things that have transpired, but
it's on our It's
but
on
one
our
of
website.
those is now did Hunter Renfro
Yes.
from Clemson, and he's playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so every year there is a trophy given to the number one walk on. Is it the walk on that actually makes the team or gets a scholarship?
It's
or
performance
how's that work?
based. It's
Okay.
it's going to be a Hunter Renfro type. In other words, they're probably not being nominated if they're standing on the sideline, because you got to be contributing to your team.
Okay, yeah.
Baker Mayfield's a two-time winner, so that tells you the type of player.
He was a walk on.
He was a walk-on. He was a walk-on twice. He walked on at Texas Tech, and then he walked on at Oklahoma,
So he
and won the
walked on.
starting job both times.
He walked on, walked off, then walked on, and
That's
then
exactly right. That's
made it to
exactly
the
right.
NFL.
So yeah, he was a walk-on. Who would have ever thought that? But no, this isn't no disrespect, but the Rudy Award that you get a dress out and stand there. No, this is performance based. So like the Hunter Renfro's, who's a special player, special person, and is really doing great things for the Raiders now. And so we've got some great nominees in this year, and we've got a tremendous selection committee that's working through all of those. So, but our event's December 6th at 7 p.m. We will be streaming it, so information will be coming out on that. But it's going to take on a new look this year. It's going to be quite a show. We're looking forward to that. But top of our list, as always, is our Eyes of a Champion program. We're looking to get out and having greater reach with that, be able to help more kids, because it does make such a big difference. So any independent or any optometrist out there that are working in the eye care industry, or we work through school nurses, through school systems. We've set it up where we can add states, add areas very smoothly, very easily, and it's very efficient. And give those kids the gift of sight, and then also through Brandon's story, give them some hope and encouragement.
Yeah, I am talking to Marty Burlsworth, the older brother of Brandon Burlsworth, who passed away in a tragic traffic accident in 1999. His trophy case, I'm not trophy case, his locker in the Arkansas Razorback locker room is encased, and his jersey is retired. One of two people that at that time had their jersey retired, and it's really a picture of the gospel as people are looking at a man dying on a tree, and all the apostles are like, this doesn't make any sense. We wanted a king. We had expectations that these things were going to happen. he's going to die on a tree. And of course, it changed the world. And so, in an echo of that, Brandon's life and death, there has been so much transformation and so much impact in thousands of people's lives. I mean, to the point to where people like Hunter Renfro would consider it a true honor, to be able to receive the Burlsworth Trophy, and all the others that have received it. They want to be in the competition. They want to be selected because it's not just getting a trophy, but it is really just punctuating a career of hard work and dedication and a reward for that. And Brandon's life exemplified that. He was the least of the least. I suppose in any high school annual it would say least likely to succeed, maybe. But he was a phenomenal person, and so I just encourage anyone to. You have to watch the movie. You really do. It is so good, and it'll inspire. And so Brandon's life continues to live on through the movie and all of these initiatives that have been started. Marty, thank you. You've been very generous with your time, and it is true. I mean, Brandon, he gave you a handoff, and you took the ball, and you've been running with it well for 20-something years now, and I hope that continues on.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on today, and I'd like you said, encourage everyone to go to see Greater on Netflix or wherever you can find it, because that's what we want. We want it to be an inspiration.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.